All right. So when you went in with limited resources, they were able to curse you more uh, with that focus because it wasn't so much. Because the second time, it still had some issues, but you know, you know, shit happens. I guess is the best way to say it. So the other thing I forgot to say, and I can't remember what they did to this dude. I had to out process this guy. Again, it ties in with Bergdahl. I had to out process this guy, and I don't know if he at that point. I don't know if he was acting or if it was real. You know, a psychological. Uh, what do they call it? Retirement, I guess. Well, one of the NCOs who lived in the barracks, they did something to him, and I think it was physical, and I think they had to physically evac him. It was just, again, it was the down guy that they were making fun of or whatever, but it got out of control. I don't remember, but I think I think they may have been dogging him, just carelessly or something. But again, it was one of those guys that was like, that they were making fun of kind of deal. I was married at the time, and I didn't pay much attention to the barracks like that, on off duty time because there was, like I said, an NCO that was living there, a couple of them. I just start in the morning, about 4 o'clock. No, not that, about 5, I guess. And then he eventually went to the psychological thing. I don't think it was psychological when they evac him. I think he went out, and then he was just burnt. I can't remember what they did. But again, there's no place in the military for that. That is so undisciplined. That is, something that doesn't even belong. It happens. They got a little bit more thick skin, but there are limitations, and we're in combat. The whole key is to be able to wire to one another and become, that one thing, that living, breathing machine. It's a metaphysic, and if you have that bullshit going on, then that wiring doesn't take place. Bergdahl probably would have been one of the greatest, not one of the greatest, but a great soldier had that not happened. Probably, I would say if he was in the right place, he probably could have been a ranger or something like that. So again, we don't, again, sometimes the military people are the own worst enemy. So we have to overcome that. There's no, horsing around is one thing, but again, how much horsing around is really, um, or what is considered not undisciplined, or not disciplined and undisciplined. So they said, Sergeant Moore, can you out process this guy? What's going on? He was vegged. I mean, and the thing is, if they gave him something to help relax, it's called veggie, which may have led you, like if he got off the medicine, he may have been able to stay. So again, we don't, none of that bullshit. And there's nobody that's not needed. They got to get rid of that. Everybody's needed. Everybody needs to be in. Everybody needs to be connected. It's just a strange combat scenario because we're trying to preserve Iran, and we don't go where we're probably going to end up going if it doesn't change, or at least partially going. Why did something about the 9 infantry? I know my father was in a 11B in the 9 infantry somewhere, the one that Died when I was a kid, my real father. But when I was in, it was really strange because when I was in desert, or I was in MFO Sinai, the desert there, we were relieved by the 9th. And prior, they had never been part of the rotation. It was just the 101st and 82nd. Right. So they created CENTCOM in 83, and then I guess I was part of somewhat CENTCOM in 85, right, as far as the Sinai format. I remember the Sergeant Major of 9. He came early, I think. He was pretty strack. He looked pretty strack. I didn't know him, but Sergeant Major, the 9th Infantry Division. I don't forget what unit it was. He looked like he was serious. He looked like he was a point man. You know what I mean? Right. I guess it's the metaphysics of all of it. You know, it's kind of weird. I saw the patch and I immediately knew it was my father's former unit from, I don't know, it was World War II, Korea, which one, or both on it. Yeah, my father was right. We went up one number when I got in the Army, went to 12B. I actually had interest of being a 13, whatever it is, for Forward Observer. I wasn't going to switch to that. I just studied it. You know, took an interest in it, studied it. So, but that helps you with everything at 12B stuff. Right. Sharpens your call for fire capability, which is another thing. Yeah, that's what it's about when I'm speaking right now. Yeah, make sure everybody's up on call for fire. I guess a little bit easier these days. Right? Whatever it is you do in your automated world for call for fire, or maybe you still use some of the primitive techniques. Make sure everybody, that'd be a good thing to focus on. Call for fire. Make sure we know how to keep that accurate. And you know, time conservation. When and where to call for fire. Pretty self-explanatory, but just go over everything. Mind it. Everybody mind it. Yeah, today's order of battles, especially a G-Day type of thing. There's people assigned to that, but just make sure everybody has a working knowledge of call for fire. I was wondering if Saddam had spies in Saudi Arabia before G-Day. There's something we're dealing with now, because that also affects metaphysics. But I think it's just Iran's had such a run for the money, got so many people, and you see all the people supporting them, trying to act like they're just, you know, it's just about Trump. That's bullshit. They're part of some sort of machine that included Iran. So they still have some power left on the planet. And when they curse you from that level, again, they got money too. When you get your airplane stuck. At least it's not like we have to back with. But you always have to keep that in the everybody has to keep that in the forefront. Law. That's what that was. The planes, again, it's a metaphysical, but it's also called Murphy's Law. There's a physical thing that we go through, which is also metaphysical. If we think and mind Murphy's Law, then we might see things to fix before we get out there. it's always good to personally eat humble pie a little bit, even if it's not that big a deal. Like you can be on yourself, and other people be like, but it isn't. It's just that Murphy's law. And remember Murphy's law. When I was in the Marshal Service, when I went to the academy, I guess I gave it both times I was at the academy, federal law enforcement training center, and or actually I was there 3 times. I don't think they did it the last time was like advanced course. I don't think they brought up Murphy, but I was like, what? I was trying to figure it out. I'm like, I was like asleep, and like, what? What is it thing? I think I already was like applying it because I had been in the military. I just couldn't get with the example of it. Murphy's law. Once I woke up and I first I was like, oh, I think I'm already doing that. Right. Again, the mental checklist. Which can convert into a metaphysical checklist if you mind it. Yeah, I'm not asking you to move witchcraft or anything. But we're at this stage of the thing where we have to stay big, right, all the way through it. If they don't stand down, that's their problem. Here's an example. You know, I showed you that wine glass yesterday with the smiley face from Hashem. So yesterday I overfilled the glass last night. But here's an example of metaphysics and how Hashem does it. So I overfilled it last night, and I poured half. And the whole time Satan's trying to get me to do something different. So Satan's like, "Well, pour the wine out, half of the wine." So Hashem said, "No, go over the thing, pour it in there. Okay, that's good. Now put that over there. No, don't pour it out. Put it over there." So this morning I'm like, everything got all screwed up this morning, or early this afternoon, and I'm like, "Oh, I forgot to do the wine thing." And Hashem's like, "Remember the glass? Go get the glass." Because it was like very difficult. I could feel Satan restricting me from filling the wine warmer up. So Hashem's like, "It's going to be easy. Remember that glass? The half full." The half full glass. It's not half empty. It's half full now. It was half empty last night. Now it's half full. No, it's dangerous. You know, it's very, I don't know what the energy is. I'm wondering if it's Hashem just saying we need to end it. Well, because the way it's playing out psychologically is not friendly to Iran saying, okay, we've had enough, especially with the down planes and the burning the, everything says that, oh, whoops, whoop, 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 Keystone Cash. Even though it's Cecil and it's not Keystone Cash. Let the Keystone Cash be. Right. Shit happens. I mean, it's just where the world is when you're in war. You have to have that. You can't have the mind where you're like when you plan, your mind is detailed. When you're going through it and it's over, you don't pick it apart. I mean, you do after action review, but you're like, hey, it's done. We did it. That's it. Whatever the rest is, who cares? Right. But it's not conducive to the psychology that we need for Iran to say we give, which is bad for them. You know that. Right. So it's kind of like, and the question is whether it's coming, where is it coming from? Right. So again, who's moving that energy, or is God just saying, hey, we want that psychology in them. We want it to be over. Anything else is going to be too small. God's patient. It's not our timetable. So like when you look back, you think, well, why did we stop Iran 20 years ago? It would have been a lot easier. But, it just maybe God gave him that chance. Obviously, it's gotten again, wealthy person disease. That's what it is. Wealthy person, spoon-fed prep schooly disease. Rather impressive operation today, or yesterday, whenever. Just reading about it. We took care of that sector a little bit. Well, if I really want to give up, it's fine. I mean, I'm not, you don't have to go to war. I was saying, we could accomplish things in Desert Storm. I believe they got their wires crossed. I believe we went in and deposed Saddam. That's what we needed to do. Right. Personally, when it was all said and done, as far as hanging Saddam, I wasn't a fan of that. The war was over. Right. My thing was, you could do a Noriega or something in his life. I think maybe we did, maybe that's one of the lessons when it came to Noriega. We just imprisoned him and and that was it instead of doing a Saddam on him. Well, I think Saddam was living some sort of world. Again, maybe Maduro's going through it now. Right? He hit reality, and he actually experienced. If you read about some of the stuff between Saddam and the correctional officers that were watching him or whoever they were, there was a relationship. And I think Saddam woke up, day late, dollar short. So again, when he was killed, I was like, yeah, an old enemy, but he was captured. I'm not a big fan of that type of thing. I warn people that the people will do that. I do that. I'll say, how people are. They depose you. That's it. You'll be Gaddafi. Right? No, I wasn't a fan of Saddam being killed. Not at all. And part of it was that when I read the I said, I knew what was happening. Even though I was asleep, I knew what was happening. I got to start waking up. Reading. Yeah, but again, it's ours to be. When it comes to what the Pope's speaking about, that's where it plays in. Where the combat is finished and he's a prisoner of war. And then become the bigger person and drop the forgive the sins or whatever. Right. All right, stay peaceful. Just mind that for now. Make sure nobody's down on anybody. Everybody gets treated like a royal soldier, because that's what they are. And focus on call for fire, when, where, how, all that kind of stuff.